Greetings,
The
greetings.
feedback that sound there from Patrick.
Yeah, I think Patrick. Good evening. Good evening, my brother. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the round table. We do this every Sunday at 4 o'clock. You know, in the past, we've been starting a bit late or something. No, I won't say a bit, but starting late. This week, we're trying to improve on what we are doing. Start on time. Have everybody on board. Last week, we in the program in a way I wasn't expecting. You know, we who participate in this journey, because basically it's a journey, it's a journey we're on. We, we, we are brothers from out of Kingston and St. Andrew, and I'm familiar with the journey of them two brothers, Lass, and Patrick. And we start out on a journey, and again, we're not sure of the solution to the many problems that the Jamaican people face, the people of White House. But when we start out, this is what we said. We said then that this channel is about the people of Waterhouse, the working poor people of Kingston and St. Andrew and Jamaica as well. But personally, my focus is Waterhouse. I'm not going to tell anyone who decide to join in this journey what their focus should be. All I ask is that, as the host of this thing, all I ask is that we focus on what we think is right, given at this point in the Jamaican people history. Because it's a long, hard road what people been traveling, long, hard road. And when you set up things like this, make use of the technology available right now in order to help your community, help an individual move along the journey, along a path of consciousness, then you have to be true to the principle on which you work. And that is my determination. My determination with this Waterhouse Vibes is to be true to myself. And I hope everyone would join this journey. They are going to be true to themselves. You can't hide from who you are and what have you, but be true to thyself. Last week, we went in a way that I know it disturbed some members in the audience. I received some texts, and I wasn't too happy about the text. And based on those feedback, we decided to tighten up the thing, At the end of the program, I hope you will see an improvement in the delivery, discussion, the topic, and your participation. Okay? Brethren, how did I them do? Did I them all right?
Yes, Michael. Yes.
Cool. A lot of things in the news. I saw a discussion between Patrick and the member of parliament around an article in the news this morning, Sunday Gleaner, today's Sunday Gleaner, and I'm watching that discussion, Lass, what's happening in the news, my brother?
Yes.
Can you hear me, Lass?
Well, since our last meeting, we, we have had a number of developments in Jamaica that has hit the news. Some of these developments have been troubling, to say the least, and we'll just try to highlight some of them and some of the main points about these developments that made the news since we last met. I think that the first bit of news that we encountered over the last week or so is the government trying to make an amendment to Section 96 of the Jamaican Constitution, an amendment that would change the age limitations on the person holding the office of the Director of Public Prosecution and also the Auditor General. The problem with what happened was that in trying to amend Section 96 of the Constitution, the government tried to do it almost in secrecy. They did not consult with the opposition. They did not even consult with the Constitutional Reform Committee, which they themselves have set up to look at reform in the Constitution. What happened with that is that there has been major outcry from civil society in Jamaica and from the ordinary people, because the Constitution is the fundamental law of the country. It is the framework on which all other laws in the country are based. It is the framework on which the whole governing of the country is based. And people in general felt that the government should not be treating an amendment to the Constitution as if it is something that should be taken lightly. An amendment to the Constitution needs consultation with the opposition. It needs consultation with members of the society, and the government is trying to almost ram the thing through in a 24-hour session. You know, it created concern from all sections of the Jamaican society. Another aspect of that made the news was the response from Paula Llewellyn, who is the Director of Public Prosecutions. Paula Llewellyn, in responding to the outcry from the Jamaican people, started to say that all the Jamaican people is doing is making noise, right? Which showed her level of arrogance and her level of disrespect for the Jamaican people. The second thing that made the news since we last met was the Commissioner of Police interdiction of the chairman of the Police Federation. Apparently, the chairman of the Police Federation, Rowan James, he made some statements critical of the police high command, and his criticism of the police high command was that they were not doing sufficient to pay monies owing to the rank and file members of the police force, despite the government setting up some formula for that for those money to be calculated and to be paid. And the response of the commissioner of police is basically to say that, boy, this man is damn out of order to be criticizing the police high command. So they put him on suspension and decide to give him probably three-quarter pay until the police high command investigate his whatever he said and come up with that decision on it. That was something also that a number of people across the country, I mean, was very critical about, because it most people saw it as violating his rights to free speech and his right to defend the rank and file members of the police force, as he is. Um, i- that's his job. It's his job to defend the rank and file members of the police. So he really did nothing that was wrong. I said nothing that should have upset the commissioner of police.
Hold a minute right there. A radio is in the background, disturbing the audience. Anyone, Patrick, is that your radio?
No, hold on. Let me
Patrick, you have a radio?
one sec. No,
Yeah. Our TV's on.
that better?
No, I'm still picking it up.
Well, that's not me then.
I hear it.
You hear it? Yeah. Okay, continue, my brother.
I don't hear anything, but
Yeah, man.
I the noise you're talking about is not me because I never really heard anything.
Okay. So, the DP, the Police Federation, last you were saying?
Yeah, so at this present time, the chairman of the Police Federation is on suspension and is getting three-quarter pay until the commissioner and the police high command say them investigate that issue and decide what next to do. The third thing that made the news since we last spoke was the appeal court rejecting an appeal from the former Minister of Education, Royal Reid, and his partners in crime. They had appealed to the courts to dismiss the charges that were brought against them in the lower courts. But the appeal court over the last week has rejected their appeal and upheld the decision of the lower court. And the appeal court has also said that this matter should, an early date should be set to hear this matter, because this matter is of high public concern. So we'll see where that goes. I've noted that in today's Gleaner, Royal Reid lawyer is saying that I'm going to appeal some other aspect of the thing. So we can see that they're trying to drag this thing as much as they can drag it out. So we'll see how that one goes.
Well, Patrick.
We also in the
Go ahead, lass.
It's frozen.
All right, Patrick. it- In all of this, there's come like it's everything tied to oldness.
Obviously.
The corruption, the bullyism, and it just seems to tied to oldness. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, because this is, a classic case of what happens when a government go down a corrupt path. It means that, it reflects itself throughout all the branches of government, whether it be the judiciary, whether it be the representational branch, um, whether it be the governor general office, whatever. Because let's think about this. Even as we talk about the move, the hand-to-hand move which they made to pass the law, right?
The
Raising the
amendment. The
yes,
amendment.
yes, yeah. It's still passing a law.
Yeah.
It's the same process, all right? Should the government sign it, it would only simply mean that the governor general would be complicit in it. So when you're talking about that kind of hand-handed behavior, you're talking about corruption, basically, right? You're doing something which really you're just doing it for political manipulation, but it's not really governance. It's not authentic governance, and that's the problem. What happens is that we're likely to see even more of this happening, in the days to come, and the weeks to come and the months to come, because that's the atmosphere right now, one of corruption, and they'll introduce all kind of distractions, they'll do all kinds of crap that is not gonna sit well with people, you know, and to the degree that some understand what's going on and so on, right, then they'll speak out about it. But what that also means is that oldness gotta be careful, because there can be serious consequences to his actions. All right, this is what he's doing is nothing new. We see the same thing happening in the U.S. Right, or has happened in the U.S. for that matter, and I'm sure by now it's no secret to anybody, even in Jamaica, in terms of what's happening with the former U.S. president, right, and I mean, when you think of wellness, you can't help but think about, you know him seem to be taking a page out of the former president's playbook.
Last, why you just share with us about the news? You see, I I think the election campaign start. We are now we are going into the season of the campaign. Because I say that because since the PNP announced the result of the poll, this government been reacting, this party, who has been reacting. First with a set of false news about war with the US. We're not sure what is happening. But what you see happening now is really moving to put in place certain things. You understand me? Which probably it doesn't see the consequences that you appoint to, my brethren, in terms of using Trump as an example. You understand? I don't think Jamaica at that stage right now where violation of the constitution and what have you. They want to end up behind bars something. Because these guys perfect the system, man. They know how to manipulate the system and what have you. These are just pieces in a chess game, a move. That's how I see it.
The good thing about what go on though, Mikey, is that people have been talking out.
Good.
that's a
That's
good
good.
part of what has been happening. The Jamaican people. This morning, Gleaner, it's the Bar Association is asking the government to rescind that
Amendment.
amendment that they made to Section 96. So every day, more and more people across the country, both in civil society and the ordinary Jamaican people, more and more people talking out, because there has been so many missteps by the government over the past couple months that I don't know, as Patrick said, if they see the consequences that more and more people, right, are joining this thing against what they are doing. Because every time something happens, now a little bit more people join in to talk out about it, right? Which is a good sign, right? That more and more people willing to say, we see what you are doing and we disagree with what you are doing.
More and more people. I read Trevor Monroe article this morning in the newspaper, the Gleaner, and he's saying cry out, outcry must continue.
It have to continue or nothing gonna be done. You know,
Nothing.
I mean,
Absolutely.
I mean,
Okay, go
sorry,
ahead.
Patrick.
Go ahead, lads.
I mean, it's not like we have the whole country crying out, right? Which is the ideal situation, right? And sometimes not enough people are cry out on the issues, right? But the fact that people people responding to things that are happening, and little by little we hear other people joining in. That is the good sign.
But do you think the
So far,
federation going to
I
join?
mean,
Do you think the federation going to join in and support this corporal? You think the
of
rank
course
and file
they are
police force?
defending
You
him.
think so?
Yes,
Well,
yes,
here's the thing.
yes,
Here's
yeah.
the thing about that. The way I see it is that the whole situation with Corporal James is really an issue for the police federation to push back on, right? Because if they allow it to just simply slide, where he's gonna be brought up before a court of inquiry over matters that was being dealt with, right? As being as head of the federation. It's not really him anymore. It's directed against. It's really directed against the federation, right? Because what from my understanding, what he was speaking about is that his whole um statements that he made was directed more at the party that he's negotiating with, which is the government, not the police high command, right? So it's really a police federation issue, and it's the ball is really in the court at the federation leadership and membership, right, to push back on that, right? Because it does make sense. You can penalize a spokesman for speaking out, right, for the group that he represents, and
Okay.
that's just my take on that.
And what did he say? He didn't say anything that should really make neither the commissioner nor the high command, apart from saying that them dragging them foot, and it now
He
go
never
so.
posed any
That's
threat.
basically
He never posed any
that's
threat.
that's basically what the man is saying. The man represent the rank and file, and him say in basically say we're not gonna take it so. You understand? And I think that is what the commissioner probably feels him I get too big for him boots to say, boy, them now go take it.
Well, that's where the membership and the leadership at the federation now is gonna push back, because, like I say, it's
yeah,
really, you know,
but
an attack on the federation, not on James personally, right?
so
Yet
so far
he's being,
so far it would seem that the so far it would seem like the federation is not backing down, and James is not backing down, because all the statements that he has released since the interdiction, is defiant. So we'll see how that one goes.
yeah.
I
Plus, the other thing I would want to say too is that, um, for the police commissioner to take such high-handed action, right, which never come with any due process, right? Again, this is questionable.
Exactly. Exactly. It's
yeah,
like
because
the man I said, go on,
the
Mikey.
commission the commissioner is friend with oldness, You
Exactly,
understand? All
exactly.
right, and the DPP is friend with wholeness. But I am not too sure in terms of the pushback, because I observe it in terms of the deputy DPP coming pushing back, and I see people push back on the PNP with Bruce Golding, and all of what we see. Yes, it points to the healthy nature of our democracy. You understand me? People can make change, but the really deep rooted change that necessary to move Jamaica forward right now. Are we going in that direction? And I say that because I hear the PNP say time come, right? That's the slogan. Time come. And I talk to my brethren and sisters and they ask for what?
Mm-hmm.
We haven't seen anything from the PNP in terms of policy. What different they're going to make relative to this government? Yeah, what change they want to make? Nothing.
Well, here's
So,
here's
so the pushback. I'm not too
That that's
certain. It is
that's part of
happening.
the
here,
problem. That's
here,
a
here's
big
here's
part.
here's the thing.
Go on,
Here's
go
the thing.
on, Patrick.
Here's the thing about it. Here's the thing about it. As you start out, Mike, you make reference to the state of our democracy. That is really what is at the heart of all of this.
Of
Because
course.
because what happens is that the what I would call the mass consciousness out there, right? And their understanding of what this democracy is, right? And my personal consciousness as it pertains to what the democracy means, right, is not one and the same. Because what we're really fighting for, all of this, what we're really hobbling over, is really hobbling over about democracy. Democracy is not the
Democracy.
structure that they set up. That's really not what democracy is, right? It is this whole thing of following the imperialist definition of what democracy is, right? That once you have free and fair elections, as they call it, right, automatically it brings the democracy. But that's not what democracy is, right? And that's really where you find that the pushback to come from the people is not up and ready in arms, because for the most part, they don't have much of an understanding of even what this democracy is all about, which is one of the reasons why people resent the whole idea, right, of the politics. And worse when it is openly corrupt.
And that is what
Right?
the PNP should be teaching the people about.
But the PNP is not speaking to that. The PNP is about the PNP. That's not democracy. The PNP is about the PNP just simply seeking office, right? And this is why I say, again, people don't see no difference between the PNP and the GLP in that
No,
regard,
no, no.
because there's no clarity. There's no one speaking on their behalf, right? There's no one speaking to their issues.
I
There's
think
no one speaking to the things that directly affect their everyday life.
Last,
Patrick, I think that part of the weakness, along the lines you're talking, the part of the weakness is that when things happen, like what is happening where the GLP try breach certain parts of the democratic process, or there's corruption in government or whatever. You might have the PNP come out and they might criticize, but what is lacking is the PNP putting forward policies and saying this is how the PNP would be different from the GLP to correct these shortcomings, right? The fact that them not doing that is one of the reasons why I think them not making no traction, no sufficient traction amongst the people, despite people criticizing wholeness, criticizing the government, talking about them corruption, talking about how undemocratic this government is. You don't see no big push towards the PNP because the PNP not using these missteps of the Jamaica Labour Party to introduce what they would do differently to correct some of the issues that is a problem in the society. Them spokespersons, right, on legal affairs, or them spokespersons on the Constitution, whatever it is, they're not using these opportunities where the GLP make these big missteps to outline their policy and what's the alternative, what the PNP alternative, what would a next PNP government do differently to make sure, right, that some of these things that we're criticizing the GLP of don't happen under the administration.
But here's the thing, Judas. Just to even extend on what you just said. When that doesn't happen, when the PNP does not take a principled position on the matter, right, and really push back, right, and part of the pushing back is the work among the rank and file, right, among the ordinary working people out there. When they fail to do that, it also lay a basis for when they take office for them to continue corruption. That's what happened. That is a dangerous. That is a dangerous position for them to take, because that is the door that opens.
And nothing changed.
Exactly.
Nothing changed. You understand it? Because the PNP said, time come right now. Time come for what?
Exactly.
With the
Just
DPP,
criticize.
yes, this oldness move and him undermine and the DPP and whatever, them bench and batty, oldness and the DPP.
Yeah.
What is it that they're going to do different?
It's just like as you know, playing the
in terms of this office, this office, it's a constitutional office, right? The DPP.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, it is. It is, and that's why I think that's why it required an amendment. But the amendment extend beyond just the office. That's my takeaway from it.
Beyond the office. It's beyond the office.
The specific amendment, that section speaks specifically to the age limit of the director of public prosecution. The thing, it's not so much the substance of whether age or whether whatever. It's just the process that the people are concerned about. Because nobody is saying that them should not alter the age limitations of the office of persecution. Nobody is saying that, That's not a
But but
concern for nobody.
but but
The
last, the thing
concern
is
is that as a
last,
yeah,
more importantly, not so much that nobody's saying why, but they're not, what they're really not saying is why the rush, or why the urgency to change it now and change it the way they're doing it.
That is a chess game.
That is real. That is the bigger question,
That is only chess game.
right?
well, what they must say is that Paul Llewellyn, it must be what, 63 now or somewhere
62, I
around
think.
there.
Yeah.
Yes, and they had extended, through some parliamentary agreement, you know, some that facilitated her staying in office past 60,
Why?
right?
Why?
But well,
Why? That's
them
that's
say
that's a big question. Why?
well,
We
they
know
didn't want to
why.
change her
Is
for
is
whatever
that is
reason.
is that is
That
that is
but
that gonna is that gonna improve the situation as it pertains to the office, or is it something to facilitate Llewellyn herself? We don't know.
it
Nobody
is
knows because they're
it,
not
it
saying.
it's most likely that facilitate learning herself and whatever belief they have in her, right? Because what Mark Golding is saying, which I agree with, is that they should allow her to retire or do whatever, and advertise the position, right? And find somebody suitable for the position. The constitutional
Brethren,
amendment is another thing. You can do that if you still want to.
Let's
But
let's but
the thing,
let's
it is too closely tied to the person that is in the office right now.
but here's the thing, lads. Let's look at more importantly, right? Let's look at more importantly the office, right? You're telling me that, and when I say you, I'm not talking about you, lads. I'm talking about you, the government,
Mhm.
right? Is saying that the future of the office hangs so heavily on this woman that no provision was made before for her succession, right? I mean, we have she's not the first DPP. We have had many DPPs before, right? Even Hunter Monroe, right, who is one of the more familiar ones, right, that people will remember, right? We're not lacking when it comes to prosecutional skills, and particularly when we're talking about at the level of the DPP either, right? Because um, this is what is of most importance to us, not the individual, right? But the functioning of the office itself, right?
I
They seem
agree.
to be making it about the individual, right? And that's not what we're concerned about, because we're not lacking when it comes to, um, you know, legal skills to fulfill the role. I think their concern probably is who will fill the role that may, in fact, disrupt a lot of what they might be planning to do, and maybe even some of what they have done.
and brother man, that's why I say this is a chess game. Oldness. I heard Golden made a statement at East Rural Conference, the PMP conference, that when the PMP returned to office, they they're going to see what happened and who is to be held accountable will be held accountable. Oldness, I think, is moving to protect his friends. put in place a DPP, keep on who will go along with him around the state of emergency, and the rounding up of young black youths. Certain people send gone to prison while the guy them roll read and all them and they work the corruption, them can walk free. Because we always have something to watch out for, you know. You see this business in St. Lucia and the arguments in certain circles about his involvement in terms of certain corruption and the wife and the land and all them things there. People going to look into those things, especially the source of money that them are angle right now. You heard about the what, 800 million real estate development?
But the thing is, Mike, we would have to hope so that is exactly what, because this is really what we're talking about, the dilemma that we find ourselves in terms of the way the PNPs is lauded down through this whole process, right? We don't know if they're gonna have the guts to really take on what they need to take on, right? If they should take office.
Along the lines of what you're saying, Mikey, is that we have to remember that the government have a lot of high-profile cases in the pipeline. We have to do it with corruption. The top of the list is the royalty. Yes. So we don't know if trying to keep Paula Llewellyn
he wants a loyalist. Just as how you see Trump operate. He wants a loyalist
part of them plan
in that level.
To get around some of these cases.
Yeah.
And the fact that they're doing this only raise questions and cause mistrust, and the fact that Paula Llewellyn herself come out.
She's a loyalist.
The fact that Paula Llewellyn herself has come out against the Jamaican people in a matter where if me and you in that situation where the government do something to keep me and you in office, we'd have probably shut them out and make it play out, right? But she had to jump in with her arrogance and, rudeness and disrespect to the Jamaican people and calling the outcry against this bogus constitutional amendment as nice, people just making nice, right? And she, part of her statement is that when you come up against these things, you have to be firm, and she's coming out like tempered steel. Some nonsense like that, It just
you see them using this trial around, use them and put them through the court system as gangs. Different trials. But I know, your one trial are in discussion about the PSOG, which is one of the biggest gang in Jamaica. It's one of the biggest gang when you really think about it. And
but you're absolutely right. And you're not gonna hear about that.
No.
Right? But even in terms of the scammers, they bring something to the court which couldn't even stand up. It couldn't even stand the test. Right?
People are protecting their friends.
Right?
They are protecting their friends in high places.
Exactly. I mean, this is. I mean, like I say, when corruption starts to show up, right? If you don't really rein it in, it just blossom and blossom and blossom and blossom. That's what happens. It has to be reined in.
And who will bail the cat?
Right?
It's raining, but who will bail the cat? Because brethren, from how it look from afar, is as if a set of gangsters just take over the state and dictate and dominate, the them do what they want to do, and nobody supposed to say anything to them.
Yeah, but usually
Imagine them
what
treat
usually what happens in cases like that,
the
historical, is that it leads to serious anarchy. Look at what's happening in Nigeria, right? Just in the last couple of days. Suddenly, it seems suddenly, but it's not sudden, because it's the same thing was playing out. The same thing was playing out, right? And when things start to play out in that way, and the corruption start to blossom, there's no telling where we will end up. There's no telling.
If you play with the devil, you know, my brethren, if you play with the devil, it's when the devil come, you have to go, you know.
Right?
Because I tell you.
Well, that's the thing. Back to your chess game. One thing for sure is that checkmate coming. Checkmate coming, you know. You might not like how it come, but it must come.
It's bound to come because
Yeah.
Usually them end up with what you call a Rasputin, this Russian, you remember the Russian Revolution before
Right.
the Rasputin take over the Soviets, the Russian state, control the Tsar, and what Russia suffer setback in the war. You understand? And then the Russian Revolution take place.
Yeah, well,
You
but
know,
the thing is
go
that
and-
we can make no prediction. We can make no prediction. We only know so that whatever is gonna come, right? If the corruption isn't reined in, it's not gonna be good.
Why? I don't know. You know, because the PMP need to be saying something, not just press release and say, "Why we are going to tour, we are going to tour, we are going to go tour and go this so and what have you." We need to know what is it that the PMP will be doing different. Jamaican people deserve that. And we can't wait until election campaign. This campaign which start now, get in a higher order, and then you come with campaign promise.
Well, the way I will look at it is that, you know, even more direct than that, direct than waiting to see whether or not the PNP is gonna come to office, is that we become more vocal about what's happening, right? Speak more to the people, try to make more people understand what's really going on, what's at stake, right? And build the awareness of people. That I see as what we need to do from our vantage point.
Well,
right?
Then that means to say, then we have to go help the police them organize themselves, get the federation stronger so them can stand up to them guys.
I'm not necessarily saying helping the police, you know, fight the battle, right? I'm saying that the battle is theirs. It clearly is theirs, right? They need to see that, right? And take it on as such, right? Fight your battle, right? You can't abandon it in the middle of what's going on, right? You have to fight your battle, right? But I'm saying the bigger picture that I'm looking at is that as far as we're concerned, right, from our standpoint, we need to be more vocal about all of this, right? And really speak to people more in terms of getting people to understand what's really taking place, right? And the fact that there can be bystanders in what's happening, right? But they got to understand more in order to be prepared to do what needs to be done.
But
Right?
bro,
whether they're going to put more fire under the PNP, right? To step up, right? Or whether they're gonna speak out more in terms of the government and watch where this goes. Right?
You agree with that, Lass? You agree with what Patrick is?
Definitely. Yeah, when we need the thing is, you know, the opposition to what this government is doing have to come from more than one quarters. It's not just a PNP thing, And it's not just a federation thing or just the people who are directly affected by the actions of the government. Because all of what is happening is about taking away the rights of the Jamaican people little by little. The fact that these guys are willing to change the fundamental laws of the country by some backdoor means tells you that these people are prepared, right? If nobody says anything, to take away your rights one by one, right? So it's not just, it's a PNP thing, but we need the PNP to become more active and more vocal and strategic in terms of tying in, right? What is it? What kind of program and policy they intend to put in place, right? So that their politicians won't be doing the same thing that the GLP politicians are doing, right? And now to safeguard the rights of the people. People need to see and understand what is different and how the PNP is going to be different from the GLP, right? In order for the PNP, it's about helping the PNP to gain some traction, right? It's about helping people to be more aware of what the present PNP stand for, right? And I don't think they're doing a very good job at it at this time.
But again, last again, we can't speak around the issue. We have to be more direct than that, right? Like I said earlier on, the bigger picture here that we're really talking about is the whole fight for our democracy. That's the big picture. All of these little squabbles that we're looking at, the corruption and all of that stuff, is the obstacles where we have to overcome, because that is what is at threat, right? What is at threat is really our democracy. And that democracy in the wish-washy way that some people understand it, right? That they can be innocent bystanders and so on. It's the democracy where everybody has a responsibility.
But some have more than
and defend them rights.
Yeah, but some have more than others though, because right now, brother, I'm telling you something.
Granted, some may have more than others. I'm just saying that we have to see the big picture. We have to see the big picture. And this is where the ones who have it more than others, right, have to bring others along in understanding, having a better understanding and a clearer understanding as to what threat faces us.
Well,
the real threat that faces us.
Well,
it's not about the PNP, right? If the PNP decide to lay down and sleep, right, what you gonna do? Right? If you want to make it about the PNP, then you put fire under them.
It has to be about the PNP though, Patrick.
Right?
Remember,
well, I'm saying if you want to make it about the PNP, put fire under them. The understanding has to be more than the PNP.
It is more than the PNP, but it has to be about the PNP because
if you're looking, it's a different thing, when you're talking about the understanding and what the action is, It's two different things. It's two different things. The understanding must be really what's at stake.
Look at it, Patrick. Look at it this way. If a third party should spring up tomorrow and start taking on some of these issues.
No. You never hear me mention one thing about a third party because the thing about
I'm not saying you say. Patrick,
no. But here's the thing about it.
Give me a break, Patrick. Just a second.
Hold on. Just hear this for a second. Parties don't spring up like that. One of the reasons why the PNP and the GLP has become pretty much the two institutional parties in the country right, is rooted in the way in which they were founded and how it all came together. None of this happened overnight, right? Parties don't spring up overnight. We don't stand outside
Can
and
I
wish that third
can
party
I
and it happened,
can I
right? Even
respond,
when, even
Patrick?
when even when we look back, at the development of the Workers' Party, it's not something that happened overnight, right? It took a whole heap of serious work on the ground, right, to get to
But
where it got to,
Patrick,
right?
you're not listening to me because what you're saying is the point I was trying to make is that it has to be about the PNP because the nature of the political system that has developed, right, relies on these two parties, right, to create certain situation and respond to certain situation. The PNP is the legal opposition, right, in Jamaica. The country is split. The voting population in the country is split almost down the middle, regardless whether the PNP active or the
But
GLP active or not active.
I think you
The
still miss the point
support
I'm
in
making.
the
I think you still miss
just
the
get hear
point
me
I'm
out.
making.
Hold on, Patrick. Hear me out. What I'm saying, if you have people looking to the PNP to respond, right? Supporters looking to the PNP to respond to some of the situations that has arisen in the country, right? And the PNP not offering that leadership. What you're going to have is a vacuum, right? You're going to have a vacuum which gives the GLP. So do you think you're shaking your head, Patrick? I'm going to ask you this question. Do you think people can just go out there, make a lot of noise, oppose the GLP, and create the kind of changes that we would have liked to happen?
Okay, you want to give me a chance to answer that?
Yes.
And here it is. Here it is, quite plain and straight. Right? You cannot change a deck of card. If you play a game and you play with a deck of cards, right? And for whatever reason you feel like this deck of cards where you play with is faulty, right? You can't change the cards in the middle of the game. You have to finish the game, right? And then if you start a new game, you change you come with a new deck of cards. My thing
Meaning what?
is, no,
Practically,
no,
meaning what?
listen. I use that as an analogy, but I'm gonna explain it now, right? The hand where you get dealt with in terms of playing the political game in Jamaica is the PNP and the GLP, right? Those are the two clear choices. There's no other choice, right? As far as we can see, right? Therefore, it means it's one or the other, right? Now, if one is playing the game, right, and cheating, right, and the other party, right, in the game is not responding accordingly, right, to challenge the opponent and the cheating and make a move to win the game, right? Then what happens is that the one on the outside, right, the person on the outside who is gonna be the beneficiary, right, to who wins the game or who loses the game, right, is gonna have to put fire under the one who is gonna be backing for win the game, right? And if I'm gonna put fire under the PNP, right, for win the game, it means that him have to understand first of all, the importance of him winning the game that is at hand now, even though he's not involved in it, right? Him have to understand, first of all, how important it is to him win, because that is what is going to make him more determined, right? To put fire under the PNP, for them win the game. So I'm not talking about changing the players. I'm talking about really, right, putting fire under the PNP the way they're supposed to put fire under the PNP, right? Mean that them can't just stand by and fold them on. Them can't stand by and fold them on.
Can I say something here now? I understand Patrick and I understand Lass, but listen, brethren, you see the policeman issue. I feel mixed about it, you know, where the smaller speak out on behalf of the rank and file to get money and what have you. I feel mixed about it, and I tell you why. Given what Patrick is saying, them policemen here will belong to the Federation. They have been going to the community. Them see the condition of the other Jamaican people. Them see, them live with them have patrol and all them things. You never hear any of them come out and talk about all the people them live or even advocate on behalf of the poor people in Jamaica. Them go in, them patrol, them brutalize who them for brutalize, them kill and what have you. And brethren, the reality is we ask the PNP to do a lot. But the reality is this. The balance of force on the ground in these communities change. 3 forces dominate the community. The policeman who is armed, the gangsters, they dominate the community and space. The PNP, they have connection, but in terms of the organizing, linkage and all of that most of the PNP right now in the community, they're afraid to even come out and talk. Them probably report to them the MP or whatever, but them now come out on front page because them see the man with the big gun. So all of what we say, the question I think before us and the politician them is how them shift the balance in the community. So them can create a space where them can go in and organize. Because listen, if the balance not shift, we will continue down the same road which wholeness are carry with right now. Whole corruption and the gangs. Because a gangster control the GLP party right now. You know. After Golden make that speech, East Rural, above you are somewhere there, but it's East Rural St. Andrew Conference. The two men them who argue for censor in a parliament, you know, Robertson and Vaz. You guys know, you know who these guys are. Them run the government, run the GLP. So what do you really expect? What can we expect? The balance of force in the community will have to change for all the ideals and what have you that we talk about. The democratic space. And I agree with Patrick, the democratic space. We have to restore that so that people can come out and talk. And it's not happening. It can't happen right now. So what, the politician, in other condition, he rely upon the police. If something happen, he say, let the police them do them work. You know, you know, say, well, you know what? I'm going to see, first of all, the trauma. I make we deal with the trauma and them not dealing with them thing of burden. So the issue is how do we shift the balance of force in the community? Can the PNP, and that is what we want to hear the PNP speak to. The program. So how we shift the balance of force in the community?
You raise up an issue, Mikey, which I've been trying to get answers for a while. how the violence affecting the political organizations
Of course.
in the communities. Nobody's talking about it, But I have long believed that part of the inaction in some communities on both sides of the fence, both GLP
Both
and
sides.
PNP communities, has to do with the fears that these organizers have to go out and say whatever they want to say. Because what happens when what you're saying, whether it's policy or the party on certain issues or not, what happens if what you're saying is not in keeping with where the gangster feel say in a film interest?
Exactly. So you set up the
Or
people there.
are these things affecting political organization in other communities? And that's it's you notice that over the last since we meet, there was a PNP councillor who was shot and killed
Yep.
Yeah.
since the last meeting.
Mm-hmm.
And this policeman, in point to some interesting events. You know that he did he made a statement about the gun that killed a gun that killed the man at Patrick Bailey's house. He said that same gun is involved in two other killings. There's a whole the level, bro, the level of corruption, my brethren, you know, is one thing, but the balance of force in the community, I know it affects organization, them community
So
organization.
so we just realize to what extent crime and violence affecting nearly every aspect
Every aspect.
of the Jamaican society, which is why we have spent so much time discussing the crime and violence situation in the country, because without we have an answer to the crime situation of the country, the whole democratic process going break down. Because imagine the councillors and the people who support the councillors straight to go out in them communities, go advocate for certain issues. Imagine the member of parliament and his team straight for going to certain communities and advocate on certain issues. Especially, you're going to have a member of parliament going to some communities where where gangs take over and advocate a policy against crime, an effective policy
Against
against crime and
extortion.
violence and
All of
against
them argue against
extortion.
extortion.
But
You know,
here's the thing again. Here's the thing again. If you have a community, right, where, as you put it, the criminals take over, right, to the degree that the member of parliament, right, fearful for going in my own constituency, right, guys,
I
this
don't think
constituency was
fearful. Fearful is not the word. I think it's more can be himself. A member of parliament who cannot be himself because he has to play up to the different constituencies, different kind of man then. And can't speak about extortion in the community.
factions.
so
Yeah.
in
Different
other
factions.
words then it is just the member
Play
of
the game.
parliament on paper, but
Play the game.
as far as being a representative for the community in which him supposed to be representing, him have no level of leadership to speak of in that
Well,
constituency.
in some, with us saying, some sections of the community, because as you know,
In whatever
sections of the
section, in whatever
most
section.
constituencies.
Yeah,
So
but
you'd
in whatever
have
section.
you would
In
have
whatever section, it would mean that him don't have any level of leadership to speak of. In other words,
No, he
he's,
has
he's,
level of
he's
leadership.
being led. He's being led in that area, in that area of the constituency.
No, no,
Not
no, no.
necessarily, no, not
Not necessarily.
necessarily, not necessarily being led. But if you, all right, you
It
in a
places limits on
community,
what he can do. What he can
you
do
in
in
a
the area.
community,
But yeah.
you in a community, you in a constituency, Patrick, where one section is upper middle class people, um, crime not as rampant in that section of the constituency, and you going, but you have some break-ins. You have break-ins and so things like that, and you as a constituency represent the constituency, and you take a hard line against break-ins and whatever, and you telling the people, say, well, this is what we're going to do. We're going to set up, we're going to set up some community watch, and we are going to link with the police, and things like that, to fight crime in the constituency. Then you go in another section of the community, the constituency, right? Like Waterhouse or Riverton or somewhere like that. You cannot advocate a policy like what you advocate in the previous section where you go. Because one man go say, you're informer, right? And someone I go say, boy, him have to do certain things because him have to feed him family and blah, blah, blah. So your crime policy in a one section of the constituency might be a deterrent to your organizing in another section of the constituency.
But
So the whole crime issue.
but here's the whole idea here, right? The way the whole thing is set up is you become representative at the area, the constituency, the division, whatever it is, based on being elected, right? If you're elected, right, then that automatically throws you into a responsibility of leadership, right? This is where now you have an agenda for really fulfill to your constituents, right? However you're gonna do it. And in order for you to do that, right, you're doing that on the strength of the backing of the constituency, right? And therefore, anything you do should be based on that, right? That is something which traditionally we have seen where a politician get elected to a position, and that's it till the next election time, right? And then they have to face the consequence of that.
We have to be real. We have to be realistic, though, Patrick. Look at the example of our favorite politician, right? Mr. Hilton in a Riverton. Remember Wesley complained about the issue of the selling of the metal stuff them down in a Riverton, and say the MP had cleaned a certain section of the constituency and it gone back to being what it was before. And you remember Mr. Hilton's response? We have to be very sensitive to the politicians sometimes, in that a politician sometimes can just say because him at the MP, him have the responsibility to do this, and him go just go in there, go do whatever. He has to be creative. He have to be sensitive to the constituency, because him can go in there, go try disrupt something where backfire, and not just him, but on other members of the constituency.
Let me give an
When you
example.
have a situation,
Let me give an example.
yeah, Mikey,
Make it more concrete. In all of Kingston and St. Andrews, true, in that area, a major result of the violence is abandoned properties. That's one of the major results. A lot of people move out of these areas and relocate overseas, so the properties empty now. The gangster them go in, rent it out, and control them property then. You think the MP can go in and tell them that them thing they enough go on and advocate on behalf of the property owners? He can't do that. And
you
he's not
can't go
going
say him
to.
have a responsibility
He
on behalf of
can't
the
go.
property owner to get them out. You
No,
see
he
my deal
can't
with
do that.
Patrick?
I
Him
understand what you're
can't go
Because
saying. I
say
understand what
because
you're
a,
saying.
he,
I
the
him
understand
have
what
a
you're
gangster
saying.
responsibility as MP.
Yeah,
him not going to
So
disrupt
him
the
have
gangster
now
food.
you're talking about something specifically. I understand exactly what you're saying. No,
The gangster food. He's not going to disrupt the gangster food, and he will tell you that because if you tell them say right now, you know, is a property thing, you know, and not certain things can go on. And so he will tell us him why he might like food out of a man's house.
I understand exactly
You
what you're
understand
saying.
me?
No.
Because that is a challenge.
This was not my understanding before because this scenario was not presented, right?
Okay.
Basically the scenario that I understood before was that things have become so out of hand that the MP is more fearful of even going into the area,
It's
right?
not about
No.
fearful of
More
going
to
into
address
the area.
right, and that's what I'm saying. You have become more specific now in terms of you know
No.
presenting a
He has to be
scenario for
more
us to look
compromising.
at.
He has to be more compromising because the situation of force you to make compromises where probably you don't want to make.
I can
But in order
understand
to
that. I
reach
can
some,
understand that. I
in
can
order,
understand that.
in order for, in order to reach some of the other people, you're forced to make compromises. That is why it is important that we get the violence thing under control before it reaches to a Haiti. Because we see that play out exactly the direction where it can go. We
But
see it playing out in a Haiti.
what is the violence thing where you're talking about in getting under control? You're talking about the community violence in terms of you know
We ta- we
gunman are
talking
run
about
wild or what are organized crime?
we,
What we really talking about?
we talking about gunman controlling sections of constituency and sections of communities. That's what we're talking about.
Mhm. And you're saying that in order to
And
do that,
as
based on the scenario where Michael just raised, right? You're saying that is as a result of that scenario that
is a result of the crime out of control, with not on being under control. So
and
what I'm saying, it leads right back to the country have to find a solution to the crime problem because it's affecting so many aspects of the life of the
but
country.
here's the thing, here's the thing, lads, right? I remember some weeks ago when we were talking about the same crime issue and all of that. And one of the things which Ratty
Mm-hmm.
would have said is that, you know, you can't stop crime. I first of all, I do agree with that, right? But that was the position and put forward because
You can do
there's
it.
nothing, there's no, just hear me out. There's nothing under the sun. There's nothing under the sun, right? What man do where we can't be prevented from doing it, right? It depends on how far your willingness goes to really come up with a solution, right? Whether you have the guts to really come up with the necessary solution. Yeah, it's not something you're gonna do by yourself because it's not something that can be done by yourself, right? But
To
you're
do
going,
what?
you're going to
Stop
have to shoulder
crime?
a certain
You talking?
responsibility in getting it done.
Well, from what
You're
both of you
talking about
saying,
it.
then from what both of you said, then the only solution then is it's either they're gonna be a movement to extend democracy in the society, or the armed forces have to assert themselves, police and soldier, because and don't tell me them they can't do it, because from what I gather, it was the police and the army who decided that using the state of emergency was the way to go forward, you know, not the prime minister. But when you look on what's happening right now, is either we choose a democratic
It's not
path,
the answer.
or we rely on the bullyism from wholeness to resolve crime. Because it have to come down. I agree with Lass, because it affects so much. But how we go about bringing it down when the people them live in fear, them not willing to come out and assert themselves, because them a feel it till them property value gone down and a whole part thing. Them a feel it, but still them say tell it boy, I'm just hide and seek, see and blind, hear and deaf. You know want a man come kill me. And the real fear. The politician is inside the MP, him see what go on, and him play along, and him go dance around it. And
Gentlemen,
what's it? It's rough,
gentlemen,
bro.
gentlemen, I could call a spade a spade. You call a spade a spade. You have a
Go ahead.
problem. If you have a problem, the one thing to do is to solve the problem. Right? And if you solve the problem, it's going to begin, first of all, with your willingness to solve the problem.
So the problem then,
Right?
Jamaica, is political will then. Political will.
But it's what we've been talking about. We keep talking about the corruption and all of them stuff there. Right? It means that we have to get beyond just the talking about it. Right? We have to move ourselves. Right? Move beyond it. Right? Just the talking alone don't work.
Practically,
That's true.
where you speak of. Where you speak of.
Again, like I said, beginning with, first of all, right? We have to shift the whole consciousness of people out there. And part of doing that is starting to speak more directly about the issue and solving what the issue is, because we know what is at stake. Make people understand what is really at stake. Right? You might say right now you're enjoying a limited freedom, right? And your life is threatened every time you step out your door, even if you not step out your door. But
So
it
we
can
back
get
to the
worse.
so
But
we
it
back
can
to the
get worse.
PMP. So we back to the PMP then.
Right? Again, I'm saying yes, that's a part of it.
Okay.
But we cannot, we have to start with the bigger picture, because it's not just about the PNP. It's not about the PNP. Right? What make it the PNP is because that's the hand where we have. That's the options. That's why I say there's two sides to it. There's the understanding, and then there's the option. You have to be strategic about it. Right? One
Yeah,
of the
but
reasons why
when
the
it
government
comes,
can play the way they play with all the corruption and all of that, is because of the ignorance of the people,
Ignorance, is it
I
ignorance or
don't think
fear?
it's ignorance.
It is the
Or
ignorance.
fear.
I don't
It
think
is
it's
people.
ignorance.
It is people not understanding what is at stake. It is people not
Patrick,
understanding what is at stake.
But the life
Patrick,
is, I think they do. They try to protect themselves by,
To
see and blind, hear and
some
deaf thing.
degree, yes, to some degree. I don't mean that they're totally oblivious of what is really going on. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that people oblivious to the point where them don't even want the politician talk to them. Right? But them have to be made to understand that, listen, even if you don't want to talk to the politician, right? It is your livelihood that is still at stake. Right? We have to go learn how we work together, right? To resolve this. We have to go learn that being a participant is more than just going out there an election, they are casting a vote or not casting a vote. It is more than that. Right?
But how do you get around, Patrick? The question going always come back to you. How do you get around pulling out people when a lot of people afraid to come out and make them views open because of fear?
Well, here's the thing. There's strength in numbers. When people start to see where work is being done on the ground, because they're gonna see it, Once the work starts on the ground, people gonna see it, right? I mean, I'm not gonna sit here and debate strategically how we are gonna do it step by step, right? Because I'm not broadcasting no information, right? But what I'm saying is that the only approach is one that is strategic, right? And one that is going to be tactical in terms of how you make all your moves, right? And the biggest part of it is involving the people. And you start to involve them by making them more aware of what's at stake.
I agree with you. And that's why I'm critical of the PMP, because the PMP by now should have started a process that bring the people behind them.
But the thing is
set out them policy. It's not working.
But the thing is, Michael, the thing is too, the PMP has not faced no pressure, really. It will be a different ballgame when them start face pressure.
At what point?
Them guys have to step up or step away. In other words, put it this way, right? You watch any one of the constituency meetings where them have, right? And of course, PNP supporters turn out in them orange and everything and talk, right?
But that's as far as it goes.
Yeah, but hold on. Take them out of that forum and put them in our forum now where them have to face, get into the constituency now, face the people them. Right? They're going to have something to say to them. They're going to have a whole lot to demonstrate to them. Especially if them don't start out by first approaching them to work with them, right, to solve them problem. Because the biggest lesson to be learned about corruption, right? Looking at the JLP now, the biggest lesson to be learned about corruption. Why are they able to be so corrupt? It's because of their divorce from in connection from them people, Notice even people who vote JLP now support them anymore, because of that divorce, right? So where you have the people with you is where you connect with them. If you don't connect with them, right, then certainly they're not gonna be with you. The PNP don't get to the point yet where them feel pressured. Right?
You're what me feel necessary.
They're just simply looking at the fact that they are the only option. Right? Because when people get really fed up about the JLP, them just going to automatically vote for the PNP. That's more how the approach that they are taking.
Yeah, you were saying.
What's lacking in most of the communities is political organization. And when we talk about political organization, we talk simply that people, awareness is one thing. And we can't spend a lot of time saying people need to be aware. We recognize that. But that can only go so far. You see what is important
Organization.
is
Organization.
when somebody down in a Waterhouse have an organization to belong to. It's like a youth club. If you have if there's no youth club, the youth them not have no organization to belong to. You see, when you start a youth club, if a two-man start a youth club, somebody else will see that him have two other people where him can join with, and him will join with them. 3 months later, a fourth person might see those three people as somebody who him can join with, and him join with them. Awareness is one thing, but put something there where somebody can attach themselves to. That is the important thing when it comes to political organization, having something where somebody can attach themselves to. And if that is not there, we can do all the awareness.
But that is no, no. That's not what it is. It goes together. All the way you
No,
just said, all the
no,
way you just said is part of building awareness. All the
Patrick,
way you just said is
Patrick,
part of building awareness. So it's not something separate. It is
no,
one and the
listen me.
same.
Listen what I'm saying. Give me a chance,
Awareness
Patrick.
is still building an organization.
Patrick, give me a chance. I am saying to you, awareness is about making people familiar with the issues and
But people are very
why.
familiar with the issue.
Listen me out now, Patrick. Just give me a chance. Making people know the why and all of that stuff. After people know the why, that awareness can't take them nowhere. Right? You remember Manley? You remember Manley and the 150,000 people can be wrong, where mass up how much thousand people carry them go a Montego Bay and them make the noise and whatever, and they came back and them lose the 80 election. It is the same kind of thing. Those
Why the
people who
last?
went to
Why the last?
well, listen why the last. Those people with all them consciousness and them awareness, them can bring out 100 people to vote. It's not awareness. Awareness is to make you
listen,
know
last,
what is happening.
last,
But it's not enough.
last.
Hear me out, Patrick. Just hear me out first.
No, hear me.
Hear me out first.
You've said a lot, right? And everything where you said just now, you have pretty much said before. Maybe not in the same way, but you have said it before, right? What I'm saying to you is, right, because you're trying to make it seem as if awareness is something separate. Awareness is not something separate. Awareness is not something separate. As them said, the same thing that you are studying is studying you, right? What happened is, right, when you were cite the 1980 election, right, it was not one-sided affair. It was not one-sided affair. It wasn't just about the PNP, right, losing. It was also about the GLP winning, right? So if we're going to look at why the PNP lose, we have to look at why the GLP win as well, right? I'm saying to you, right, that awareness is where you got to really start. And awareness covers the whole thing, because awareness is really what's going to make the man know that, listen, right, I got to step up. All the way you explain in terms of starting youth club and all of that is something I've been through. I've done it. On the ground. Right?
Can I say something here, gentlemen? We still come back to who is going to do the work. We agree on that. Whether awareness or organizing, it come back to who is going to do the work.
Exactly.
And to do that work, it requires certain things. It requires certain things on behalf of the. Let me finish. It requires certain things one of which is the resource, not just the physical resource, the manpower and whatever, but finance. I doubt there's any organization. PNP probably has a group. I know of one group, but I'm not sure how much money that group they have, if them pay dues or what have you. I'm not sure. And I figure most of the PNP group probably in the same condition. My thing is this. That's why I start talking about the police earlier. The only force right now the Jamaican people have, I mean, I said the politicians or whatever, is the police. They want to turn to the police when something happens. They want to turn to the police, whether I'm a report, whether domestic or whatever. The police, for all its negative side, it is there as a force. And I think change will come to Jamaica if the police transform themselves from just being providing service and whatever, for becoming advocates on behalf of these communities. You don't think that would make a difference if these police officers, when them going to them community and see where are going, so the people them leave the condition or the youth them are go through and what have you.
Yeah.
If them become advocate and confront the politician or even, things would be different. But guess what? No. Because the whole of them are feed off of the sea of gravy train.
But here's the thing.
That's why, let me finish. That's why wholeness, it gets away with a lot of misstep. And I asked a gentleman, a good comrade. I said, comrade, I'm not going to disclose his name. I specialize in security. And I said to him, what do you think happening? Because there's a model that Holness is working with. And it seems like he's going to push more in that direction, where he surround himself with military men, former army officers, right? This model, civilian military model of managing the state and what have you, if this is not a dangerous direction. And he said to me, Mike, sometimes you have to make a decision, tough decision, because the Jamaican Defense Force army officers are some of the best trained person in the country. Why not draw on them to help manage the state? That's the question he asked me. I have no response, because it is true. The Jamaica Defense Force is one of the best trained organizations in the country.
Can I respond now?
Go ahead, my brother.
All right. You know why I laugh? You know why I laugh first of all to begin with?
No.
And I'm going to remind you why I laugh, right? Because I remember a few weeks ago, right? When Jerry was on, and Jerry's favorite thing, right, for put across, right, is when things get to the critical mass. The unfortunate thing was that Jerry, even though Jerry was right on point, the problem was that Jerry wasn't able to explain it sufficiently, right? But I'm not going to use the term critical mass, but it means the same thing. It means the same thing. It's like there's a saying, when the student is ready, the teacher shows up. Because when you're about to make a move, you don't say all the you play the game. You don't say all the possible moves are gonna make it. You don't see all the possible moves. The moves are gonna develop as they play the game. Right? This is how it works. Right? The fact of the matter is that you might not see the leaders now, who the players are gonna be and all of that. But the movement is gonna throw up players who you never expect. It's gonna throw up leaders who you never see before. Right? It's the
Are you
same
talking
idea.
about down?
No, hold
Are
on,
you
hold on,
talking?
hold on. I'm responding to what you said, right? So just give me a chance. Let me respond, right? Right. I use Jerry's example because it was so clear when Jerry made the point. But if you're not a person who understand where he's coming from and have really looked at these things, because one of the main things, is that history show you everything, history have all the answers. History have all the answers, right? But don't expect to see it all laid out literally to you, because that's not the way it works, right? It's like when Ratty say you gather information, but how you use the information is the intelligence. It's the same principle. It's the same principle you apply here, right? You have to be strategic and you have to be tactical, right? That's how it works, right? It goes to the same thing in terms of where you raise last in terms of the 1980 election. What was the wrong moves made? What did you do, right? Why is it that you wasn't able to mobilize the turnout the way you wanted it to and all of that, right? You have to work everything out. You don't neglect anything. That's what I said to you. It's not a situation where when we're talking about awareness, it is separate from organizing. Everything works in tandem, right? Everything works in tandem. It works like clockwork. It fits like a glove, right? This is how it works, right? It's not for us to sit here and work out every move. Why your friend mentioned to you in terms of the security and the generals and all of them things? Because that is the way the army works. That is the way the army works. That is their job. That's how they win battles, right?
Let me ask a question. Let me ask you a question. All of what you just said, are you talking about in the future or presently? Because presently, if you're talking about presently, there are certain realities you have to face. I know you talk about build awareness and what have you.
Okay.
But awareness building also come through people living them own independent life. It's not something you can go and go tell people about, that now work. And
you hear the whole Jamaican saying while they ask while the
can you allow me to finish, please? Allow me to finish, please. People are their Jamaican people live them life in these space, and they have devised a way how to survive. It comes down to see and blind, hear and deaf. If you go in there and tell a man how him to live his life and what you think is right for him or what, you're going to have a problem. You're going to have a problem because nobody like that. I think the point Lass is making is that people have to belong to something. They have to feel that they belong to something. Whether it's the gang or whatever, but it's the feeling of belonging to something that is needed to motivate the people and bring about change. This type of change, not from the top, but change from the bottom up.
And in this scenario, what is that something? What is that something that they're gonna belong to in this scenario we're talking about?
Well, the only thing they have to, some decide to belong to the church. Some belong to different organizations. Some turn to, because the sense of belonging.
But my brother,
that is what is missing.
My brother, hold your point right there. Hold your point right there, because that's exactly why I want you to focus. Hold your point right there. Right? Think about the whole thing. Right? We're talking about, that is why I say awareness. right? Let me use another word. Consciousness is the same thing. You have to build your consciousness. You don't get people involved by convincing them. Convincing them is not shifting their consciousness, is not shifting their understanding, is not enlightening them. Right? When you're gonna engage someone, you engage someone in a way that their consciousness can be shifted. Right? It's not something you push down them throat to try to convince him, say, I saw it go work, I saw it work. No. You're allowing him to come to the realization, right? That I have a role to play in this. Right? Because what it is saying is that, what Patrick is saying to me is that all along I've been wanting something to be done about this situation so my life can be better. But I don't see no hope. I don't feel like there's anything I can do. The only thing I feel like I can do is run where and go try to see if I can reach America or some shit like that. Right? Even though you don't know what is beyond the sea. But at the same time, right? Here it is. Patrick is gonna come to him and say, listen, right? There's a way we can work through all of this. But it means that you're not gonna stand by and fold your hands anymore. You have to understand now, right? How the thing work. Right? In order to know how we can make certain moves and get certain things done.
But Patrick,
No, hold on now. I'm speaking directly to where you're raised. Right? I'm saying to you that is not wanting working with isolation, as I said with last. Right? You keep focusing on the awareness side or on the consciousness side. And I'm saying to you that consciousness, right, is like the umbrella term. But it involves everything. Everything.
Last, let me hear you, last.
You know, for me, I don't know about you, Patrick, right? For me, I'm not saying consciousness important. I always talk about awareness and consciousness and all of that. But I'm saying when it comes to getting things done, you can get things done without awareness and consciousness, Did you realize that? When you're working a area and you go up on a corner and a youth know you don't say a word to him about what you deal with. But you say to him, say, say, me a build a fence down there, so lend me a hammer and come give me a hand. That's organization. No consciousness raising, not take place there, so. But you still get this person to help you to do something. All I'm saying is that you need that. You need that aspect of organization where you are about getting things done, right? And somebody can attach themselves to you, whether because he know you, whether because him trust you, whether because him see you do things where him say, yeah man, say Mike need, I see him do some things on this, so and a positive thing, I'm going to help him. That's organization. All of that no have nothing to do with consciousness and awareness at that point.
Well, let me tell you straight now. Let me tell you straight now what consciousness. No,
Patrick.
I get your point.
Patrick, just a minute. Let him finish.
Patrick, let me finish. I'm saying I agree with you. You need awareness. You need consciousness. Very important. I always talk about that. But don't believe, say, if don't believe say you can't organize somebody without the consciousness and the awareness. You can organize people without the consciousness and awareness and teach them consciousness and awareness. Right? Because some of the when a person know Mikey is a popular man in a Waterhouse. A man see Mikey a build a studio. And Mikey no go to him and with no consciousness raising nothing. But him see Mikey a go there every day and him see the thing a get off the ground. And him say, yeah man, a good thing that. And Mikey said to him, all right, you think it's a good thing? You know, say we are go down there, go put on a door. Use a man we can screw on a door. Can you come and help us? If you can attach yourself to more and more people in that kind of way, you can build an organization. And when you build an organization and instill them with awareness and consciousness after. It
Okay.
goes both
Okay.
ways. It goes
Okay.
both ways.
Okay. Can I respond now?
Sure.
What you just said is classically what Jerry was saying in terms of critical mass. Classically, that's what it is. Because in essence, when him say critical mass, what he's saying is no, hold on.
Do you
hold
agree?
on. Just
do you
allow me.
agree?
Allow
No,
me to
yeah,
say.
Allow
I'll listen to you. I'll listen to you.
I just want him to say what I agree.
Allow me to say what I have to say. Right? When you look at the situation, what you're really talking about is you're talking about changing the scenario, move things in a whole different direction, right? And in moving these things in a whole different direction, you're looking at how you're gonna build support in moving it in that direction. It's like them said, a tree don't start out being big. It starts out from a seed and it grew up. Right? The whole idea, right, why the whole argument about critical mass come up is because you're talking about a situation where things are so crucial, things have become reached such a desolate point, right, that something must be done, right? And even when you think that something must be done, you still don't have a clue what it is that needs to be done. But things begin to break out at the seam because of the level of corruption and all of that. Anarchy start break out. Right? And the moment anarchy start break out, right? A small group in the center, or one individual, however it is, right, is moved in such a way, right, that him start to immediately pull in on all of the support him can get in the moment. And that start to put structure and the whole change. The whole vision start to form in terms of what has to be done. What must be done, in fact. Right? Because that is the simplest way I can put it. That's the simplest way I can put it in terms of an explanation. But it's not something that can be readily explained ABC. This is what must be done. Because that is where you're trying to get to. You're trying to get to how you move ABC. And you're not going to determine that. You're not going to be able to determine that at this phase. Because you're just realizing that things are at a stage where okay, there's corruption taking place. We still don't get to the point of the critical mass yet. Right?
Can I say something here? I'm weary of the argument about consciousness. You know, it implies going into a space and telling the people them how to live according to how we see life.
No,
Let me finish. Let me finish. Let me finish.
no, but I just
Can,
corrected
no,
you
can,
right here.
can, no, no, no.
That's
Let
not
me finish.
consciousness.
Let me finish. Let me finish. I'm just giving you my take. The Jamaican people, we've been through this before. We've been through this. People come in our community and then come on a mission to raise our consciousness.
Christian,
Not, not
Christianized.
realizing, not realizing that we have a consciousness before them get there. But them come on a mission where they want to raise consciousness and what have you. And in that process, individual agency gets sacrificed. So, either have to join a church or join a political party in order to get some benefit. That's the reality of the Jamaican people, ordinary Jamaican people. My thing is this. Right now, we have a government or a prime minister that manifests certain tendency, which, if we don't curtail it or put a stop to it, it's going to undermine our democracy, Jamaican democracy, because we can say this, but yet still, we have to celebrate our democracy. We still can move people by 5 years, and outcries still make politicians move, like just as though it moved gold in certain things. It moved politicians. Some of them with the salary, they never take it because of the outcry. I don't always accept it. So we have a certain freedom and rights in Jamaica that we practice over the years. Unfortunately, much of the organization that gave rise to some of these rights are not functioning anymore. Even the simple basic units, the family structure in a lot of these communities, them get destroyed. People have disrupted.
So why are you talking about them?
So what I'm saying is that at this stage in our history, the balance of force has to shift in a direction that bring more people into the process. You understand me? More people into the process. Market, they go out and vote, because the politician mobilize them. But it's only a small, select few who the politician recognize are in my deso. The vast majority of the people not taking part because they don't feel comfortable, they don't feel safe. They live in fear. So that's the challenge before us in terms of Jamaican
But that
people.
we already passed there because we spoke. All the way you're saying we already said we spoke to that.
The consciousness that you speak of, you see, I think in other situation the best way right now is either people are going to come to the realization that they have to form community group, themselves, and nobody not going to take up that on them shoulder to organize people in that direction.
But Mike, again, why do we keep repeating ourselves? Why do we keep repeating ourselves? Tell me that.
Because
everything where you just said has been said between the three of us before.
Because I think that some oftentimes when we talk about consciousness and the state of the condition and the community and whatever.
But what is consciousness?
I don't think we need that discussion about what is consciousness. We know what is consciousness.
I think it's an appropriate question right now. What is consciousness?
Well, a simple put, self-awareness. Awareness exactly. of self, and not just self, but awareness of one environment and what have you.
It's still self.
Okay.
It's all self. It is simply what you just said. Self-awareness. Period.
But I think when we use that term, it implies that there is a lack of consciousness.
But I'm not implying anything. I never tell you I was implying anything.
Okay. Well, I'm wrong then. I'm wrong then if to go from it that angle, because I know when people in the past, when people talk about consciousness, it implied that there's no consciousness, and because of there's no consciousness, the people operate a certain way.
But consciousness don't require no implication.
Okay.
Consciousness don't require any implication. Because I have a consciousness, you have a consciousness, every living being have a consciousness.
But you have to remember now, how we started this discussion was about the undemocratic way.
Gentlemen, I feel like I'm speaking and you're not hearing me, because this is the problem. This is the problem, right? We're not listening keenly and thinking about what's being said.
We reached this point because we were talking about the PNP and them needing to do more organization in the communities.
And then I said, my response was that it's not about the PNP. It's about the people. It's about what is at stake. That in itself, right there.
There needs to be more. There needs to be more organization amongst the people.
Right. But I'm saying to you, right? I'm saying to you, right, that is at that point in the conversation where the whole matter of consciousness comes up. Right? That is exactly the point where it comes up.
The issue, though, is that I think what we are all agreeing on is that there needs to be more organizations, not just in Waterhouse community, but in the communities across Jamaica, to get things moving in a different direction.
But I already said to you too that it's not for us to try to look at how you work it out before determining what needs to happen. Because you can't do that. We don't know what's around the corner.
Why can't you?
Right? You start where you are.
Yeah, but
that's
you have available additional data that allow you to do an assessment, not just what you have, but you
Michael,
you bring everything to the table.
You ask a question and I give the answer, right? Then you say there's additional data. We don't get to the additional data yet.
To be more practical.
So the level of consciousness where you are is where you start. That's where you start. And you build on that.
Yeah, to be more practical. You remember the other day Michael raised an issue about a fowl farm or something where the youth them do and do?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. It takes organization to make that happen.
Mm-hmm.
Don't it? You agree?
Of course. It takes organization to make anything happen.
Yeah. And if we can also say, boy, the youth them need to be conscious about X, Y, Z and blah, blah, blah. And at the end of we making them conscious about X, Y, Z, them still not have a full farm, right?
Mm-hmm.
You agreed me?
I do agree. I'm listening to you. You haven't offered me anything
I'm asking you a question.
You haven't offered me anything to agree on. I'm listening to you.
No, I said to you, we could have said that the youth them who need a food farm need consciousness and awareness about X, Y, Z, and after X point in time, they could be conscious and still don't have a full farm. That's a question I'm asking you.
I never said that.
If that's a possibility. I'm asking you if that's a possibility.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Yes, that is a possibility.
I don't know. Based on what you say, it could be. Based on what you say, it could be.
I'm saying to
hold
you,
on, hold on, hold
I'm
on.
saying to you,
Yeah,
if
all
we
right.
go
You
and
asked me the
try
question, let me
organize
answer you.
these,
You asked me the question, let me answer you. Right? You want me to respond to you if that could be a possibility. And I said, based on what you said,
it's
it
a
could
yes
be.
or no
But
answer.
no, hold on.
You
Hold
agree or
on.
you don't agree?
I'm explaining to you what my
It's a
answer
yes or
is.
no answer.
No. It's not a yes or no answer. It's not a yes or no answer. It's an answer that requires an explanation. And I'm explaining.
Okay.
Right? You outline a scenario to me, right? The youngsters want a fowl farm or a chicken business, whatever you call it, right? And they, whoever, they seek help to get that done. And the help that you're offering them, right, is that, okay, you have to become organized and so on to do it, right? But then they decide that, okay, we're not organized or anything like that, so how we are going to do it, right? And you say the result is that nothing get done. And then you ask me if I agree. That was basically what I took from your conversation. And I said to you, right, based on what you explained, that's one possibility. It could go that way, but it doesn't have to go that way. It could go differently too, right? Because in many instances, I've seen it gone differently. Same scenario, gone differently. The same idea what Michael talked about with the chicken farm and all of that. I can bring it to your attention to Michael, right? We talked about it in the meeting. And I sent you a whole video package, right? And you put out, I think it was on YouTube or something like that. Him lay out the whole program. Start out a chicken business in our backyard. Right? Everything, right down to the accounts, everything. Right? And I'm offer it up on YouTube as a step-by-step pattern to follow. And I sent that. Right? And we also discussed where we could have access resources for the youth them to do that. Right? Because you did just raise it in the meeting. Chris wasn't even in the meeting when you raised it. Right? And we looked at all of those things. So what we're talking about is that the fact that nothing happened or something happened, because we still don't know. We never hear anything beyond that. Right? But we don't know what happened. We don't know if the information even reached them. We don't know anything.
All I'm saying in a scenario like that, you just want to find the best methods for get the thing done. That is
And finding the best
organ,
methods is
that
about
that is
consciousness.
that is organization.
It's consciousness.
That is organization.
And it's
You you
consciousness.
you know where to get the material. You bring in youth for build this, build that. Simple as that. It's an organization. Some youth see the project are going on and sees a good thing and join in. That's organization, right? And it get done without the consciousness part. The consciousness part are gonna come when some youth are going to say.
I still can't believe that you're still going down that road. Because you're talking about organization now, like organization is something abstract. Organization requires thought, it requires a thought process.
Make we leave.
Right?
Let's leave.
It requires a
Let's leave
thought
this
process. That's what organization
today.
requires.
Let's leave this for today.
Right?
I think we have to take up.
So stop being simplistic
I
and
think we're
behaving as
taking
if,
out too much
because
time on
you
this.
really know better.
Let me say this,
You
gentlemen.
really know better. I know that.
Let me say this. Let me say this, gentlemen. Whether it's organization or consciousness, the reality just now facing the Jamaican people is that we have a prime minister and his gang who are doing things that undermine our democracy. we have to get that out, that recognition, that understanding. Some some organization, something will have to get this information out. Many people become aware of that. And the best avenue right now is the PNP because they are the opposition party, and I don't think they are in league with what is happening. So they have a reason to be critical and to put forward alternative. They haven't done that. The broader question is whether or not ordinary people will jump up and take over from the politician and start make the noise and demand in the country, demonstration and what have you. I don't think that is going to happen. But I think that on the consciousness point that Patrick raised, if the police federation reach to that stage of consciousness, not just about themselves, but about the Jamaican people, ordinary people, then they could become an effective force and defend the community, shift the balance of forces. Because regardless of what you're thinking, you have some good police officers out there. I know a couple, and I say a couple. Good police officers who want to do good thing, but the level of corruption, make Tom distrust Mary and Mary distrust Annie and what have you. The level of distrust amongst the police ranks, it's frightening. It's frightening. So where that leave the Jamaican people? Back to relying on the PNP. And the PNP is not putting forward a plan. Even in terms of reform in the criminal justice system, which is tied to the crime and violence in the communities. The weaknesses within the criminal justice system and the corruption, that is what is feeding much of the violence, the gangsterism in our community. A man go to prison, you meet a friend, and when the friend come out, him just come, leave him house and come to the community. So the three of us, I don't think can resolve this problem. We can talk.
But it's not about resolving no problem either.
It is a problem.
No, it's not about us resolving no problem. We can't resolve the problem. We can't sit here and just resolve the problem.
No, we can't.
I agree with that. I don't know why we keep repeating the same things over and over.
I agree, that more need to be done. More need to be done. And I think that we have to keep our eyes on the oldest government. We have to, because it is clear that they are very undemocratic. Very undemocratic. And if nobody don't stop them, then we're looking at a form of dictatorship in our country, and it's going to be wrapped in this whole new constitution. That's my reading of the situation, brethren. The Jamaican people will have to be mobilized to stand up to this brethren here, this prime minister. The election coming up, we know the election season. All we can do is hope for the best. Don't you think?
If the man them move on the constitution in the way they move, what else could we trust them about?
Exactly.
I mean, the constitution, any kind of amendment and discussion around the constitution supposed to end in some form of consensus, right? Not non-dictated position by any one party. And if them can look upon the fundamental law of the country and move at it in like a night under the cover of darkness, right? We change the constitution. What else can we trust them with? There's nothing else. We can't trust them with nothing else. We only hope that they will heed the call of the Bar Association and that they will heed the call of the well-thinking people of this country who say them need to roll back that decision, that amendment that they make to Article 96 of the Constitution, right? And if them want to deal with it in a fair manner, and a manner where say them willing to base them activity on consensus.
And that's where
Can you trust them to do that?
Well, if they do it, we can have more trust in them. If they do it, the ball is in their court.
That's not how trust work. That's not how trust work.
Trust work based on
Trust
people
don't work,
doing
right?
things.
No, that's not how trust work.
No.
Tell us, Patrick. Tell us how trucks work.
You just said you are the one who raised the whole thing at trust, right? And you said that if they looking at what they did with the Constitution, the fundamental law, as you put it, right? And if they did that the way they did it, you pose the question rhetorically, can you trust them to do anything else? Right? And then you go on to explain a scenario. And after you explain that scenario, right, about what they would need to do and what they would need to do and all of that stuff, right? I turn on and ask, can you trust them to do that way, that scenario where you lay out? And you're going to say, and your response is, well, if them do so much, then I can trust them to do more. That's not how trust work.
But that's the only way. That's how trust work.
No, that's not how trust work. That's not how trust work. That's not how trust work. Here's the problem. Here's the problem.
How trust work.
The problem is, I'm going to tell you what the problem is first, and then I'm going to tell you why trust don't work that way.
Tell me how it works.
The problem is, we keep thinking too much like the colonialists. And it's the same way we govern. We govern like the colonialists, and we expect changes to take place. It don't take place like that. You have to think in a revolutionary way. You have to think in a way of completely changing the scenario. You have to flip it on its head. Right? You can't correct something that's broken. Right? You have to build it new. Right?
So what's to be built new now?
So if you're talking about a new constitution, that's one of the arguments for a new constitution, because the one that exists to begin with, right?
We're talking about this particular amendment to Article 96. That's what we're addressing right now.
I never since I was talking about no amendment.
But that is what we're talking about. That's what is in the news.
No. You said that if looking at the work what them do with this amendment, can you trust them to do anything else? Right? And then you start talking about what they should have done or what they should do and all of that stuff. And I ask you, can you trust them to do that? Right? And you couldn't answer me.
Patrick, right? That
is where I went to the point I said, that's not how trust work.
Patrick, listen what I say. Listen what I say.
I heard what you said.
You didn't hear.
I heard what you said.
I'm simply saying, if this government willing to rescind, right, that amendment, that backdoor amendment that they made to Article 96, and that the Bar Association and other members of the society are saying they should rescind.
Yeah, that's not what you said. But anyway, go ahead.
If they want to do the thing, bring.
That's not what you said, but go ahead.
Mikey, were you here?
That's not what you said.
Because
that's the first time you use the word about rescind.
I don't think your mic.
It's the first time you use the word about rescind.
Patrick, I
never use the same.
Patrick.
No, you never said it.
Patrick.
You never said it.
Patrick, can you hear me, Patrick? I think that regardless of oldness and democratic approach over the years, there exists people like Frank Phipps and others within the GLP who will stand up if necessary. I think Frank Phipps is a decent individual. Okay. The question of trust, you have elements within the GLP you can talk with. You know, you definitely have elements. How far, I'm not sure because I never interact with them. I just know Frank Phipps as a decent gentleman who labor right, him will tell you straight up, but him having principle, deep rooted principle. People like that. The change that we hope for is just a hope, and we have to work towards it. It's just a hope at this point. You know, and we have to work towards the change and how we work with each of us will have to play, you know, our role. You know, and some might be conscious, some might not, but Marcus Garvey say the Jamaican people now don't know themselves until they're back against the wall. And probably that is what has to happen. You know, get to that point where they can't turn no more and, you know, they must face the reality.
And face the critical mass.
Well, you can call it that. You can call it that, you know.
It's not my phrase. It's not my phrase, but I quite understand it.
Yeah, you can say the critical mass. I do understand the critical mass also. But right now, the major problem in Jamaica is crime and violence. It affects everything. Corruption. It feeds it. And we have a prime minister who governs in fear. And at the same time, him wife make some heavy investment. You know, where that cash come from, nobody knows. You get me? So, there's a lot the Jamaican people face. There's a lot, you know, confront. And we can't spend the entire evening I try to figure this one out. It's going to take years and people with more skill and talent than us. So, you know? So, where that leave us? We have to just continue the discussion. It's an exchange in the hope that people will watch this channel and then listen to the reasoning, and in the process, they become conscious of what is happening and what needs to be done in Jamaica with regards to constitution and local government and the politics of the country. But I still believe Patrick says it's not up to the PNP. I think the PNP has a major and a critical role to play at this point in the Jamaican people journey.
And we all agree
at this time. And them not making use of the missteps of the Jamaica Labour Party.
We all agreed on that.
Anything last? We agree?
Yeah, man.
So, on that note, gentlemen, brethren, I think we have a fairly decent reasoning. You know, listeners, oh man, the listeners are very critical, you know, but it's a journey. It's a journey. We continue it next week again. Next Sunday, we'll continue this discussion, and I hope you'll join in, the listeners. Brethren, thank you very much, and we'll continue the journey. And finally, keep your eyes on this Prime Minister. Keep your eyes on this
Patrick,
Prime
respect.
Minister. All right, my
Come on,
brethren.
come on, every time,
Much love.
every
Much
time.
love, my brethren. All right, cool.
Yes.